All right, welcome. Thanks for joining. For the practice today, you will need either two blocks or two blankets or two towels that are about the same size or that can be rolled up to be about the same size. Or we're going to be doing supported bridge towards the end. A yoga block works for this. A foam roller will also work for the prop that we need. So we're talking couched within this yoga practice. We are going to talk about muscles that tend to get overused, or they can be used in compensatory patterns in our bodies for many different reasons that aren't related to rowing, but also related to rowing. So muscles that run between the shoulders and the neck. These muscles tend to get overused, and then we underuse some of the muscles that are more in the upper back. And then as far as the hips go, being able to engage the glute maximus, so the buttocks muscles here, so that we can use low back muscles a little bit less and our quads a little bit less. So areas that we tend to have some overuse injuries or holding tension that can cause neck pain, hip pain, back pain, even knee pain. So we are going to start the practice in a position to release the tension in the muscles between neck and shoulders. So I'm using my blocks here, and it'll be creating like a little roof over my head on the yoga mat. So placing that there. And this might be enough for you. I'm going to add a little elevation with rolling up a blanket. So from that long rectangular side, I'm rolling it up, and that makes a little roof that's going to be over my head sitting on top of the blocks. So we're starting in a position to release tension. Oh, sorry. And the props I have there are going to be over my head. So my head is not resting on any of the props. And I'm letting my arms rest overhead. So my arms are like the roof over my head here as well. Elbows are bent and pointing out towards the sides of it. And hands might be supported, or they could be hanging off the back. You can decide what feels the most comfortable and the most relaxing. And that's really the point of this position, is to release the tension in the muscles that run between neck and shoulders. So make any adjustments you need to if you're too close or too far away, or if your props are too narrow and you're kind of pushed inward, readjusting here, not thinking that you land exactly in the right place, but also that there is no exact right place. And it's always can take a little fine tuning, and it might be different from day to day as far as where the props go. The height of the props allows you to relax. And again, the point of this position is to release tension in the muscles that run between the neck and the shoulders. So if this is an area where you tend to hold a lot of tension, or if your teammate or your coach tells you your shoulders are riding up here, this is a way to release the tension and also teach those muscles how to let go. Because sometimes we've created this pattern where the muscles want to get in on the action. They're sort of busybodies, and they want to help out when really they're taking work away from muscles that are more designed and really more powerful and stronger to be able to do the movements that we're requiring. Take a few moments here, settling in, focusing on the breath. Each exhale is an opportunity to relax muscles around the face, the shoulders, the neck, the jaw. Breathing through the nose and subtly slowing the breathing down. Taking the next few breaths here to set an intention for your practice. And there's sort of two sides of the coin of the practice today. It's one side is about releasing tension and muscles that are overactive, and then the other side is about engaging and learning how to turn on muscles that are underactive. So your intention could be about releasing. So if you're usually one who holds more tension, maybe it's about releasing or letting go or softening. Or if you're curious about how to engage certain muscles, how to find them, how to use them effectively so you're more efficient, stronger in your stroke. So that could be about engaging. Maybe choose one, releasing or engaging. And then if you choose to do this practice a second time, choose the other one. Take the next few breaths, bring this thought to the front of your mind, and breathe with intention. So we'll bring our arms down here. You can move those props away from you. And we're going to start. So we started there by releasing, relaxing, letting go of the tension between the neck and the shoulders. Now we want to engage these muscles between the shoulder blades. So we're starting in this robot arm position, knees bent here, so the low back can kind of stay out of it. Elbows are bent at 90 degrees in by your sides, hands point towards the ceiling. You're pressing the elbows and shoulders into the floor to lift the breastbone up so that upper back pulls away from the floor, hips and head stay down, and then we relax it. We'll do that again. Inhaling, press the shoulders, elbows into the floor, breastbone lifting. Exhaling, relaxing. And instead of pushing with all your might, keep going. Instead of pressing with all your might, 100% effort, try it at like 50 or 60% effort here, because this is just about engaging, right? Less about strength than it is about finding these muscles and figuring out how to turn them on. So you have several sets, several layers of muscles that run between the shoulder blades and the spine. And that's what we're engaging here. So when you're in the catch position, your arms are forward, your shoulder blades are forward here. As you pull those elbows back, as you pull the oars back, these shoulder blades should pull towards each other, pull towards the spine. And these muscles here are the ones we want to turn on, not the ones between neck and shoulders. So we've kind of taken the neck muscles out here, relaxing on the exhale. Maybe just give yourself a little bit of a hug here, wrapping the shoulders around, and just gently rock the legs side to side. We're going to do that again, changing the arm position, right? So, because when you pull those oars in, the elbows aren't directly by your sides. We're going to bring the arms out. So it could be, the hands are still going to point towards the ceiling. The arms could be like 90 degrees out or just, 45 degrees here. So thinking about where your elbows sort of end up when you're in the finished position. So probably not 90 degrees, slightly a little bit lower. So it's the same thing here. We push the elbows and the shoulders into the floor, lift the breastbone, and then relaxing. 50, 60% effort. Inhale, push the elbows and the shoulders into the floor, lift the breastbone. Exhale, relax. So maybe you're starting to feel it down a little bit lower. So before we were kind of using muscles a little bit more that run horizontally from the shoulder blades to the spine. Maybe now you start to feel some of the muscles that run from the shoulder blades down to the lower back a little bit more. These are the lower trapezius muscles, and they pull the shoulders back and down, as opposed to the upper trapezius muscles between neck and shoulders that pull the shoulders up and forward. Relaxing here, let the arms relax out to the sides, rock your knees gently side to side. Grab a yoga block here if you have it. We're going to work on the core a little bit and start with the feet down and start with the block straight up over the chest. If you don't have a block, just pretend you have one here. We're engaging the innermost layer of abdominal muscles by pressing the back ribs into the floor. This starts to engage the inner layer of abdominal muscles here around the waist. Keep that, lowering the arms overhead. And then on your exhale, we pull the block back over the chest. Do that a few more times with feet down. Back ribs pressed into the floor, inhaling block overhead, and then exhale, pulling it back up to the start. So feeling that muscular engagement here before you add a little bit more challenge if you choose. So you could always stay with the feet down or do the same thing here, feet up, hips and knees bent, back ribs pressed into the floor, block overhead, pulling it back up. Staying with that, or lower one leg, sort of dead bug style, exhale, pull it back up. Knee bent is going to be less challenge, knees straightening out as you lower a little bit more challenge. But the main thing I'd like you to focus on is keeping the back ribs pressed down. So one thing that I often find in people who are trying to work their core is they're doing things like crunches or plank, and it's kind of working a little bit more of the outer core muscles. This deep layer of abdominal muscles here is really important for stabilizing the spine and stabilizing the pelvis. And without them, we're using these outer muscles a little too much. All right, pull it in, block down. You could hug the knees in, just gently rock side to side, relaxing. I had a physical therapy client today, said she'd been working really hard to get her core and her hips strong. But what ends up happening is she feels like she gets stronger, but then her hips get really tight. And I just said, have you tried doing a set of the exercises and doing something like this, rocking around on your back, a happy baby, those windshield wiper motions? See if you can teach your body how to be strong, but not hold on to the tension. And she had not thought of that. We'll bring the feet back down. Actually, pull one knee in towards you, gently hugging that knee in. Not a super strong pull, but it's really just to get that low back to flatten. The other foot we're going to pull in close to and lined up with your sitting bones. This is a single leg bridge. And keep in mind, you're not going to be able to lift very high with this. So you're pressing that foot into the floor, lifting your hips and your back, and then lowering back down. We'll do a few more. Keep that foot in close if your hamstrings cramp. Exhale, lift the hips and back, and then lower back down. Inhale. We'll do a few more. So hopefully this knee pulled in position is taking low back muscles out of the picture and helping you get that glute maximus of this down leg turning on to push the hips up. You might feel a little bit in your hamstrings here too. So finding out where that glute max muscle is here, lowering on down, both feet down here, maybe a few windshield wipers. And we'll do the other side. So knee gently pulled in, really just to flatten the low back so it's not a tight, stretchy pull. Other heel lined up and close to the sitting bone. We lift on the exhale and then inhale lower. And don't be surprised when you can't lift very high or if you're feeling kind of wobbly. But my hope is that you're feeling that glute maximus of the down leg doing most of the work here. If not, we're going to have a few more opportunities for you to be able to feel it. One more. Lower on down. We're going to come into a relaxed happy baby. So knees in but pulled out to the side. So knees a little wider than your hips. Holding back the thighs, gently rocking here. Or maybe you hold feet or ankles here if that feels good to you. Just keeping it gentle. All right, rolling on over and pressing yourself up to a seated position here. So legs are stretched out. We're leaning back on our hands. So this is another opportunity to start to activate those muscles between the shoulder blades, the lower trapezius muscles. So we start leaning on the hands, or maybe your forearms if the wrist pressure doesn't like it, but not upright. So we're leaning back here a little bit. And you notice here, if you just kind of relax the ears right up towards your shoulders, chest is sort of sunk in. You're pressing into the hands, pull the shoulder blades towards each other, lift the breastbone, look up. And then relax. So the chin comes down, the chest caves in. We'll do that again, pressing into the hands. Feel the shoulder blades pull together and then slide down towards your back waist and then relaxing here. So we're starting again, engaging those upper back muscles. And really they're affecting the movement of the shoulder blades. And thinking about this engagement here as you're coming out of the catch, through the drive, into the finish, where where you're pulling the oars back, where the elbows are pulling back. Instead of them shoulders riding up, they're going to pull back and ride down, relaxing here, and then shaking out the wrist. Make your way to hands and knees. Maybe you use your blanket here to pad the knees. Warm up the spine a little bit more with some cat and cow movements from here. Remember that you have options for the hand. You could be in loose fist or on your forearms here, taking the pressure off the wrist and the thumb joints. Cat and cow. Cat, we round through the back, tuck the chin, the tailbone under. Cow, we lift the tailbone, belly down, chest forward. Breath is exhale, rounding through the back, pushing the floor away. Inhaling, hips up, chest forward. Doing a few more here. Let's see if you can notice that sensation, not just of the spine, but what's happening at the shoulder blades. So as you round the back into cat, the shoulder blades pull apart, pull away from the spine. As you arch the spine down into cow, the shoulder blades move towards each other, towards the spine. Right? So, and that's a pretty important movement for all of our shoulder mechanics. But also think about the catch finish drive. So the catch, as you reach your arms forward, shoulder blades pull away from the spine. As you move through the drive into the finish, the shoulder blades moving towards the spine. So if that feels stiff or ratchety movement, this cat-cow stuff is really good for helping to mobilize that and free up movement there. Bringing the spine back into neutral. We'll stretch our right leg over to the left side. So my foot comes off the mat, toes are tucked under. And you're either peeking around that left shoulder to see the foot, or maybe just look towards the left hand so you start to open up through that right side body. And add a little toe rock movement here. So I'm shifting forward, bending through the toe joints, and then press the heel back to stretch through the calf. So kind of a 2-for-1 here, opening through that right side body and that toe rocking movement to mobilize the calf, Achilles, ankle, toes. We lower this knee down, other side. So left foot crossing over to that right side. Maybe you're peeking around the right shoulder, just looking towards the right hand if the neck doesn't like that bigger movement. Toe rocking, shifting forward on the toes, pressing that heel back. Let's do a few more. Working a slightly different angle on that toe rocking than we normally do. And lowering that knee back down. Let's take a little break on the wrist. Find a child's or puppy pose. So the hips come back towards the heels. For child's, forehead resting down. But remember, if you're working with lower bone density in the spine or herniated disc or maybe hip or knee issues, or you just don't have that range of motion, you could be in puppy pose, hips over knees, forehead down. I think the other pose that sometimes is hard, or the other reason that child's pose is sometimes hard for people, is if they have tightness in the ankles and tend to cramp in the toes. So I'm demonstrating that puppy pose here. Remember, you can rest at any time during the practice. You can Always modify, adapt, or substitute for what I'm offering. And I tend to offer quite a few of those adaptation substitutions, but if I don't offer what you need, take what you need. Staying here longer, resting a little bit more, if that's working for you in this moment, or setting up for down dog. Hands a little forward of shoulders, fingers spread, lift those hips up and back. Now, I'm a little tight here today in my down dog, so I'm going to bend my knees so that I can lengthen my spine, let my head relax between the upper arms. Take a moment here where you pedal the feet or raise up on the toes, release those heels down. Doing a few more like that, or whatever movement that helps you to find more length in the spine, openness through the backs of the legs, relax through the neck and shoulders. And then settle in the down dog, looking forward. Step this left foot between the hands. And if it doesn't get there on the first go around, lower that right knee, left hand helping this foot come forward. So we have that ankle underneath the knee. Now, I'm going to put a block under my right hand. This is just to create a little bit more space in my spine, my hips. If you can allow the hips to sink down and forward, do so, but don't force it. Left arm, we're going to make a big sweeping movement. So we sweep it out to the side and up, and then we sweep it across and over to the other side. Inhale, sweep out, open up. Exhale, cross it over. You could keep the back knee down or lift it up here. One more. We'll bring both hands down to the floor here. Step it back into your plank. Lower both knees. Keep that core engaged and lower all the way down to the floor. So coming into low cobra, I want you to think about that seated pose where you press into the hands and pull the shoulders back and down. So here we pull those elbows towards the back pockets, which sort of pull those shoulder blades together and down towards the back waist to lift the head and chest here. So neck is long and there's very little pushing with the hands. Take another breath here, feeling that engagement of those lower trapezius and where the shoulders are away from the ears so upper traps aren't activated. Press up here, pull the low belly in to find hands and knees, and then make your way to that down dog. A few more pedals of the feet or shake of the head. Remember, you might still be bending the knees. Some practices, I keep my knees bent all the way through in my down dog. Looking forward, right foot between the hands, help it there. Lower that back knee. Maybe you put a block under that left hand. Could be loose fist though, or flat palm. And it's the right arm that we're making that big sweep. So inhale, sweep it out, up. Exhale, cross it over. Remember, you could keep that back knee down or lift the back knee. And that lift is not necessarily a progression. It's different. It's a variety of this lower lunge. Leave that hand back down and step the back foot to the front foot, finding forward fold. So you've got the ragdoll variation, knees a little bent or more, upper body draped over. Or this one protective of the spine. So similar reasons to why we might substitute in the child's pose forward fold. We have feet wide, butt back, forearms on your thighs. So this one again, working with lower bone density or herniated disc in the lumbar spine. Maybe your really tight hamstrings. Sway a little bit, either one. Ragdoll could be holding elbows, shaking that head out. We'll shift the weight into center, bend the knees, look forward, and then with strong legs, rise up to stand. Reach your arms up and exhale, hands to prayer here. Letting the arms go, shake them out or roll those shoulders a little bit. So we are going to work on our standing posture in mountain pose. So I'll start where our feet are about shoulder distance apart, almost yoga mat distance apart, and put a little bend in your knees. So I'm going to turn just so you can see my profile here. So that little bend in my knees, and lengthen the tailbone down towards the earth. So as opposed to having that pelvis tip forward and you have this big arch in the lower back, lengthen the tailbone straight down and then reach the top of the head towards the ceiling. And instead of a big tuck under or a big tightening, it's a very subtle lengthening down. Straightening the knees here. Walk the feet in so they're under your hips, a more normal stance. Tailbone down, top of the head is reaching up. If you notice your glutes start to tighten here, keep everything the same, tailbone down, top of the head up, but relax the glutes. So this is often where those glute maximus want to engage, but we don't need them. We actually want our core, these inner layer of abdominal muscles, muscles in the spine, and even the pelvic floor muscles to engage and keep our long spine, shoulders relaxed. We're breathing. So thinking about this length here in the drive and the finish phases of the stroke, and what muscles we need to engage to keep the back from rounding or arching too much. So feel how tall and long you are, how strong and stable you are, and then let it go and feel that difference with that. So coming up to the front of the mat here, if you're not there, we're coming into good mornings. Actually, we're going to do this a little bit differently. So and good mornings, usually our feet are a little wider, but I want you to have your feet underneath your sitting bones. So more normal stance. And put a little bend in your knees and hinge forward here from the hips. You're not going all the way down. So from here, I want you to think about your glutes, the buttocks, working more than your quadriceps. So you might even put your hands back on your glutes and squeeze the buttocks to rise up and maybe even push your hips forward a little bit. And then we relax the glutes, a little bend to the knees, hinging forward. All right, so we squeeze the glutes, exhale, rising to standing, maybe a tiny little shift or push forward of the hips. Relax the glutes, sitting back. We'll do a few more here. Exhale, squeeze buttocks, rise up, relax buttocks, inhale, sit back. So hopefully you can feel those glutes turning on here, or at least trying. If you don't feel it, imagine them squeezing and powerfully pushing the hips forward. So it's hard to mimic the you being on the boat or even on the erg here. But when you're in the catch, you're going to initiate the drive with your quads. But once you get partway through, you need to turn, or it's helpful to turn those glutes on to get to the finish here, right? Glute maximus, biggest, strongest, potentially strongest pound for pound muscle, single muscle in the body. So if we can get them turned on, they can do a lot of work for us. All right, standing up here, shake up those legs, roll those shoulders. Right, so that's a good one to do before getting in the boat, before getting on the erg. Like just wake those glutes up there. So starting at the front of the mat, take a big step back with your left foot, opening into warrior two. So pivoting the left heel down, left toes point out towards the long edge of the mat, front knee bending. So now my hips are angled out here towards the side, tailbone down, top of the head up. We don't need our glutes here. We don't need the glute maximus. So they're pretty relaxed. And we're finding that length here in the waist and in the neck. So normally warrior two, reaching forward and back, but I want you to reach your arms straight out here from the shoulder. So the hands are reaching towards that left side, sort of a zombie-like position. And then we're pulling both elbows back and rotating to come into that cactus position. And then we reverse, palms down, and reach out forward. So we'll do that a few times. We inhale, pull back, so the shoulder blades move towards each other. And then we rotate here, so working rotator cuffs, and then palms down and reach out forward, or at least part of them. Let's do a couple more. Smooth out that motion. And then when you open up, make sure the shoulders don't ride towards the ears. Can you keep them released down? All right, one more time. Pause in that cactus or stick them up position. If the shoulders rode up towards your ears, can you let the shoulder blades slide down the back? And then reach your arms forward and back. The palms are out, thumbs are up. Actually, turn your palms to face up. And then see if that helps you slide the shoulder blades down your back. So learning how to turn off those muscles between the neck and shoulders here. And then look over that front hand. Can you keep the inner elbows pointing towards the ceiling, but turn your palms to face down and keep those shoulders away from the ears? We'll relax the hands, step the back foot to the front foot. One big old step or a few little hops, shake it out, reset, because you know we're doing the other side. You stay where you are. I'm changing which is the front of my mat so my back doesn't end up to you. So this time it'll be that right foot back. Pivot that heel down. So front heel roughly lining up with the arch of the back foot here for this warrior two position. We want to find that mountain pose length in the spine, tailbone down, top of the head up. We don't need our glutes here, so keep them relaxed. It's more what's supporting the spine, the neck here, arms reaching out towards that right side, sort of zombie pose. We pull both elbows back, open into the cactus, and then we reach them forward again. Smooth out this motion, so less of like A, then B, then C, then D. Opening on the inhale, exhale, reach it forward. Three more here. So engaging those muscles again between the shoulder blades, and then we add 2 of the 4 rotator cuff muscles here to come into that cactus position. So we pause there in the cactus. Did the shoulders ride up? Can you release them down? And does that help you bring the back of the hands back a little bit more? Maybe even look and see, right? So then keep that the shoulders slid down, but reach the arms out. Palms and inner elbows face up. If they rode up again, can you allow the shoulder blades to slide down? Not force them, but see if they let go there. Inner elbows stay up, but turn your palms to face down. Gazing over that front hand. Breathe, keeping that length in the spine so the core stays engaged. And it's not just those abdominal muscles. Here it's the muscles that run stair step up the spine. Let those arms go, swing them out, step it forward here, shake up those legs and roll the shoulders. We're going to work on balance, but it's also a quad stretch. So you could come off your mat for a less squishy surface. You might want to be at the wall because this is when we don't have an option to keep toes down and still do the quad stretch. So you might be at the wall or a steady piece of furniture. Leg you're going to balance on first comes forward. Spread those toes, place them down, spread out. Shift your weight onto it. And then we bring the other foot back, finding the foot or ankle, or this may be where you need a strap. I forgot my strap today, but you could have a strap and hold yourself in that position. And if you're like, oh, I can get that foot, and you end up kind of really bent over or that knee out or the knee forward, please use the strap, because what we want is the kneecap to lengthen towards the floor and the top of the head to go towards the ceiling. So that mountain pose, and the reason for that is otherwise you only stretch 3 of your 4 quadriceps muscles here. Focusing the gaze on the spot straight ahead. Can you lighten that hand up on the wall? Maybe it's 1 or 2 fingers. Did the shoulders ride up again? Can you allow them to slide down your back? Those shoulder blades, that is. Letting that foot go, shake it out, and turn around for the other side. Foot you're balancing on, spread those toes. Weight is shifted onto it. Maybe you start with the hand on the wall, find that foot behind you. Maybe using the strap here to hold the position. Lengthen the kneecap towards the earth, the top of the head towards the sky. Focusing the gaze here if you want to add the balance piece to this. So hand, maybe 1 or 2 fingers on the wall, or it hovers. Or even arm up. You could put that hand on the wall here. We're going to release that foot, shake out the leg, roll the shoulders. All right. Come on up to the front of the mat if you've left that spot. And we're going to have our either two blocks or two rolled up blankets here close to the front. So let's have our feet shoulder distance apart. Inhale, get taller. Reach the arm out. I'm sorry, hip distance apart, which is a little narrower. And then we're going to sit back. So either hands on the thighs or the forearms here on your thighs. Press your arms into legs. Find more length in the spine. So depending on how your knees, your ankles, your back, your big toes, or whatever it is, you might stay here and not go down into the deeper ball squat. But if it's feeling all right, you're going to lower your butt towards your heels, hands to the floor. Your heels are most likely going to come up here. If you're really flexible, the heels could stay down, but for most of us, not so much. You might like to bring the floor up to you with one or two blocks here. So we're getting our body into this catch position. Notice, do the knees want to go out to the sides? See if you can pull them back in. Sometimes the belly is in the way, or there's tension, tightness in the hips or the big toes, but see if you can pull the knees in line with the ankles, the hips. Maybe press into the hands and lengthen that spine a little bit. Take another breath. I'm going to lift the hips here. Bring the hands to the floor, walk the feet back, and find your down dog. Find that long spine again. Remember, you might be keeping those knees a little bit bent. Shake that head out. Lower both knees, untuck your toes. Find that child's or puppy pose. And recognize here, child's and puppy are basically the same shape you were just in the squat, but just not weight bearing through the feet, right? So the ankles and the feet are kind of taken out of that. There's no gravitational compression downward through the spine. So child's and puppy are another way to work on coming into catch position, or a more compact version of the catch position for you. Slowing down your breathing again. Coming back to that intention you set at the beginning. Was it about releasing, relaxing tension? Was it about engaging appropriate muscles? We're going to come all the way down onto our bellies here. So we are thinking again about these muscles around the shoulder blades, and really the ones that run between the shoulder blades and the spine. I'm going to do some belly down positions, but these are not back bends. These are just going to be arm lifts and about engaging those muscles of the shoulder blades. I'm placing a folded blanket under my forehead so I don't have to turn my head. You might want to watch on the first one or two and then join in. So if you can, fold a towel or blanket under the forehead. And then we're going to have the arms out to the sides here in a T position. And for this one, you keep the head, keep the rest of the body down, and we're raising the arms up. So backs of the hands towards the ceiling, and then lower it back down. So we inhale, raise the arms, shoulder blades move towards each other, exhale, lower. We'll do a few more. This is it. And I want you to notice, do those muscles between the neck and shoulders start to engage? Are you pulling the shoulder blades towards, you're pulling the shoulders towards the ears? If so, work to turn those muscles off and just the ones more in between the shoulder blades working. All right, lower the arms down. That starts to get tiring after a while, so sure. after all we've done. You could let the head rest and relax here. So I noticed that my glutes sort of stayed on through that one unintentionally. So I'm just kind of wiggling my hips to relax there. I'm going to do the same thing, or similar, head and body staying down, but my arms are going to be in cactus position. So resting the head down, arms are in that cactus position here. And then you're lifting the arms, shoulder blades squeezing together, and then lower. And that's it. Inhale, lift, shoulder blade squeeze, exhale, lower. And maybe if you can see out of the periphery of your vision or turn your head and look, are your hands lower than your shoulders? Are you raising the hands lower than the elbows? Are you raising the elbows and the hands stay down? See if you can raise to the height where the hands and the elbows are staying at the same level. So if you're going higher but the hands stay down, you're going to start to engage those neck muscles again, and you're missing out on working 2 of your 4 rotator cuff muscles. One more, because boy, I'm feeling that here. No resistance, just gravity. All right, lower down. You could rest that head. Again, my glutes engaged, so I'm going to bend the knees, rock side to side, right? Because I want my glutes strong. I want my upper back strong. I don't want them holding tension because that can cause issues. We're going to do one more. We're not going to do as many of these. This one's the most challenging one to keep those upper traps turned off, those muscles between the neck and the shoulders. And let's do one arm at a time. So the forehead resting down. We're going to bring one arm forward and out a little bit. So my arm is like at this 45-degree angle here. The thumb is pointing up. That part's important. We're going to lift the arm, thumb moving towards the ceiling, and then lower down. We're going to do just like 2 or 3 more here. Trying not to allow that shoulder to ride up towards the ear, to turn the to turn the upper traps off and the lower traps on. Whew, let it rest here. And then we do the other side. So if you need to see me here from the front, I'll turn. So we have that arm out at like a 45-degree angle. The thumb is pointing up, head staying down. I'm lifting and lowering. And you may not be able to lift very high. Try not to let the shoulder shrug towards the ear. Lower traps strengthening here, upper traps turned off. Last one. And then we get a little break. Lower down, rest that head. Maybe rock the legs again. When you're ready, roll onto your back. It feels good to pull the legs in, gently rocking. Maybe rock through your shoulders and turn your head a little bit with this one. All right, lowering both feet down. In a moment, we're coming into a bridge pose here. And we did that knee to chest bridge at the beginning of the practice. And we're going to do something similar, but both feet will be down. But we're starting here. I want you to feel the positioning that you have with a pelvic tilt, a backward pelvic tilt. So feel how the low back is pulled away a little bit from the floor. And you're pressing the low back into the floor. Tailbone tips up, belly button towards spine, and then you relax. Do a few more. Exhale, flatten the low back into the floor, tailbone tipping up. Inhale, relax it. So get the feel for more. Concentrate here on how the pelvis is tipping backwards, right? So when we tip that pelvis back, we're going to take the low back muscles a little bit out of the picture here so we can concentrate in the bridge on the glute maximus, the buttocks muscles working. So line the heels up with the sitting bones, knees point towards the ceiling as opposed to angled out towards the side. So heels Knees, hips, all in line. Arms down by the sides. Lift the hips and back here into that bridge. Now pause, because most likely you have low back muscles engaged here, which is normally how we would do bridge. But see if you can stay up. Tip the pelvis back, so tailbone tips up. And that's going to make that glute maximus turn on. Did the knees splay out to the side? If so, pull them back in as if there were magnets on your inner knees pulling towards each other, and you're pressing down through the big toe knuckles, the undersides of the big toe knuckles. Let's do that robot arm position. So elbows bent, pushing to the floor with them, lifting that chest. Woo, strong. Take another inhale. Exhale, arms out from underneath. Come on down. Whoa, that was like all of the back of the body engaged for that pushing motion, right? So that's where you are when you come into the finish, right? The glutes turned on, the core engaged, the spine long, that upper back, and the shoulders away from the ears. All right, y'all, that was all the hard stuff. We get to do fun, relaxing stuff. At least I think it's fun. Supported bridge. So you can use your block, could be a folded blanket, could be a foam roller, sliding that prop underneath your sacrum. That's the bony part here that's above the fleshy part of the butt, but below the low back. Make sure you're below the lumbar vertebrae here. Once you get there, and you may need to adjust it, maybe take an inhale through the nose, sigh out the breath, and relax the muscles of the buttocks, the low back. Ooh, let it go. Take a few breaths right here where you're you're supported, right? Meaning you don't have to engage. So no longer are we working on the engagement part, right? So if that was your focus here, disengage. You could stay here. This could feel really good to decompress the spine, create space between the vertebrae and the lumbar spine, or the legs up position where we pull the knees in and reach the feet up. Sometimes I have to reposition once I get there. So instead of, stick straight through my legs, which turns my quads on, makes my hip flexors have to engage, I'm going to bend the knees a little bit. And then you can kind of reach up and did the press here. Did your quads stay relaxed right below those hip bones? Did they stay relaxed, those hip flexors there? And it's almost like your feet are perfectly balanced over your hips, so nothing is having to work to hold the legs there, or very little is. And then any movements you'd like here, pointing and flexing, circling, feet, ankles, spreading the toes. Maybe you bend one knee as you push the other foot up. Lower body getting a chance to rest and relax. And then pull one knee in towards you. Let the other foot come down on the floor. That leg is straight or straight-ish. This bent knee, just pull it slightly wider than your hip. And then once you're here, grip and bicep working, but everything else is pretty relaxed. And the position itself starting to open up through hip flexors, front of the hip, top of the quadriceps here on that straightened leg. Switching sides. The bent knee comes out just slightly wider than your hip. Each exhale is an opportunity to relax a little bit more and let go a little bit more, to soften. Bring both feet down to the floor. Lift your hips, take that prop out from underneath you here. Hips down. Cross one thigh over the other, pulling the legs in towards you to hold shins or backs of thighs or using a strap here. So we're looking for stretch sensation on the buttocks, outer hip of the top leg, or maybe a sense of openness. If you feel more pinchy on the front of the hip, change it to the ankle over knee stretch. And keep your grip and your biceps activated, but here again, those neck muscles want to like jump in. So can you consciously just let the shoulders release towards the floor, the neck lengthen, even the muscles of the jaw and face relax. And sometimes it helps me to just gently rock my head side to side to remind them to stay released. Switch other leg on top. And again, even though I just set it to my body, those shoulders want to kind of ride up here, but I'm going to allow them to relax. Neck, jaw, muscles relax, which actually all of that helps me breathe a little bit easier. So finding that lengthened breath here. The goal of this is to feel that stretch or openness in the buttocks, outer hip. So getting into that glute maximus that we were hopefully working earlier. And remember, mild to moderate sensation of stretch. Aggressive or painful stretch backfires and usually makes you tighten up more. We're going to let those legs go. Decide if there's something you'd like to do before Shavasana. Different hip stretch, a reclined twist here, a seated twist, something else that might feel like it's missing from your practice today. And then thinking about how you'd like to set up for relaxation. That position we started in with the arms overhead in that diamond shape is good for turning off those upper trapezius, those muscles between neck and shoulders. And if you have tight, tense muscles around the neck here, around the collarbones, that can also be helpful. A rolled blanket under the length of the spine or a foam roller under there opens the chest, but it also releases tension in the muscles between the shoulder blades, ones we've been working quite a bit today. So that this might be like a nice reward. Think about what would be a nice reward for your body in Shavasana, right? It could be legs on the chair, up the wall. Maybe it's covering up with a blanket, turning the lights off. Take that inhale through the nose. Open the mouth, let out a sigh. And do that again. Let the breath go. Right, so you no longer need to sigh unless one or two more of those would feel good to you. We're not thinking about when or how we're breathing at this point. But perhaps these first few breaths right here, thinking about each exhale as an opportunity to release, to soften, to melt. Your muscles are designed to support your posture and your movements, stabilize the joints. But none of that do we need right now, right? Our body is supported by the earth and the props. So there are no muscles that need to support or hold. So maybe take a scan of your body and notice if there are places where the muscles are still holding on. Maybe it's a repositioning you need. Maybe it's a conscious of, oh, I'm gripping in my hands, or I'm clenching my buttocks, or I'm hunching my shoulders. Can you have a conscious thought to release that? And if it doesn't release 100%, can it release 10%? Can it release 10% more? Can it let go 10% more? And let your body rest for the next few minutes. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring some gentle movements into the body at the fingers, the toes, turning the head. Roost the ankles, maybe bigger movements in your limbs, and if a bigger stretch would feel good, legs out, arms overhead. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, let it go. We'll bend the knees here and roll to your side. Pause for a moment, appreciating your body and the complexity of it, your health, your breath, your yoga practice. Pressing up to a seated position. Thank you all for being here, sharing your practice, your energy. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Namaste.